We should be good to go.
Yeah, whenever you're ready.
All right, good afternoon, everyone. We are here on the state of AJ Maloney versus Mother's Ball. Should we start with introductions?
Yes, Your Honor. Would you like introductions from the plaintiff first?
Yes.
Good afternoon, Your Honor. My name is Brooke Jones. I'm joined today by my colleague, Mr. David Lee,
Good afternoon, Your Honor.
Mr. Anderson Lynch,
Good afternoon, Your Honor.
and Ms. Isa Kidwell. Good afternoon, Your Honor. Together, we represent the plaintiff in today's case, the estate of AJ Maloney.
All right, defense?
Yes, Your Honor, introductions. Good afternoon. My name is Lauren Stoneman, and I will allow my co-counsel to introduce themselves.
Good afternoon, Your Honor. My name is Aaron Matthew.
Good afternoon, Your Honor. My name is Kira Hughes. Good afternoon, Your Honor. My name is Jordan Howard. Collectively, we represent the defense.
Okay, do we have any representatives designated in this case?
And not in court today, Your Honor, but our party representative is Emerson Raj, but he won't be in here today.
Okay, let's move on to any housekeeping matters. Plaintiff defense?
Yes, Your Honor. First, we'd just like to note stipulation 8, which says that all relevance objections and objections under Rule 403 have been waived to the testimony of both Umi Darwish and Nova Stone. Those are two of the witnesses testifying here.
Alright.
And second, Your Honor, there's been a pretrial ruling, pretrial order 4, which says that all objections under Rule 702 have been waived to the testimony of Dr. Meyer, who will be testifying, as well as the defense expert.
So, defense, any?
Yes, Your Honor, we agree with that pretrial order. We'd just like to note that that doesn't cover additional conclusions. Neither of the experts in today's case may disclose any additional conclusions that didn't come out in their report.
Plaintiff, anything further?
No, Your Honor, that's our understanding.
All right, defense, how about you? Any, housekeeping matters?
Your Honor, that's all for us. We're ready to go.
All right, in that case, let's have our first witness. Plaintiff, call your first witness.
Your Honor, maybe we make opening statements first.
Oh, yes, sorry, yes.
May I please the court, Mr. Matthew, members of the jury. It's July 20, 2024, and AJ Maloney is getting ready for work as a bouncer at a local club here in Phoenix. He's checking people in, chatting with regulars, maybe even turning away a few teenagers without IDs. But out of the corner of his eye, he sees someone approaching. It's a local journalist here in Murado, someone who's been following Mr. Maloney around for weeks, harassing him at work. And on the night of July 20th, well, the journalist, he's agitated, he's yelling at Mr. Maloney, so Mr. Maloney, he does what he's taught. He escorts that journalist out the back of the club to an alley. Back in that alley, well, things get, the two of them start to get physical, and I won't lie to you, members of the jury, Mr. Maloney, he throws a few punches. What Mr. Maloney doesn't know is that this isn't an even fight. That journalist brought back his boyfriend, the defendant in today's case, Mr. Teddy Mars. Out of the shadows of that alley, the defendant runs up with a pipe, this pipe. And he starts beating Mr. Maloney over and over and over again, harder and harder and harder, so hard that Mr. Maloney's brain starts bleeding so hard that Mr. Maloney's ribs snap in half so hard. Mr. Maloney goes into a coma, and he never wakes up. Because this defendant decided to bring a pipe to a fist fight. That's why we charged the defendant with that. And by doing so, we've taken on a burden of proof to show that two things are more likely than. First, the defendant actually was that attacker who was wearing a mask that night. And second, that the defendant intended to hurt Mr. Maloney. We're going to meet that burden by showing you two simple points. First, that the defendant actually was the one wearing that mask. And second, that this wasn't a fair fight. So I want to walk through those one by one, starting with that first fact: the defendant was the attacker behind this. Today we're going to call an eyewitness to this stand, Mr. Umi Darwish. Mr. Darwish is going to tell you that on the night of the attack, he saw the defendant get into a car and leave. A few minutes later, when that same looking car came back, well, the attacker wearing the mask got out. And after the attack, Mr. Darwish found that pipe covered in blood in a dumpster. Which brings us to that second fact: this wasn't a fair fight. Today you'll hear from the physician who treated Mr. Maloney after he was attacked. Dr. Meyer is going to tell you that Mr. Maloney was not attacked, that Mr. Maloney was the one who was attacked first. He'll tell you that the attacker and all the features of the attacker, well, they line up with the defendant in today's case, Mr. Mothers. He'll tell you that Mr. Mothersbaugh was the aggressor. Now, Mr. Dre, I expect in a minute, Mr. Matthews going to get up and he's going to tell you that maybe it wasn't the defendant behind that massacre, or maybe he was just trying to protect somebody else. But the evidence and the testimony you're going to hear today just don't line up. Because if that were really the case, you don't hide your face behind a mask. You don't beat someone until they're bloody and unconscious, and you certainly don't bring a pipe to a fist fight. That's why at the end of today's trial, we'll ask that you find the defendant liable. Thank you.
Yes, Your Honor. May I proceed? They've got the right story, but the wrong suspect. It's July 20th last year, and a bouncer named AJ Maloney is attacked. He's ambushed, beat, left lying in a coma just feet from the club where he works. Nobody took his keys, nobody took his wallet. You just heard from Miss Jones, this was vigilante justice. But here's the problem. She doesn't know who that person is. Nobody knows. You won't hear a witness take the stand today and say, I saw Teddy Mothersbaugh in that alley that night. You won't hear an expert get to the stand and say, there was forensic evidence connecting that alley, that attack, to the defendant. And that's a problem. If they can't give you proof, they don't have a case. And they need proof because they came here today with a burden. They're accusing Mr. Mothersbaugh of battery. That means they need to prove to you, it's more likely than not, by a preponderance of the evidence, that it was Mr. Mothersbaugh and not someone else who attacked Mr. Maloney in that act. That it was Mr. Mothersbaugh and not someone else who sent Mr. Maloney into that coma. As the defense, we don't have a burden. We'll just show you why the plaintiff's story doesn't add up. For two reasons. One, they don't have proof. And two, there was no reason for Mr. Mothersbaugh to be the aggressor. Let's take those one at a time because they're a little different. First, they don't have any proof. You won't hear from a single witness in this trial that they saw Mr. Mothersbaugh put on a mask. You won't hear from a single person who takes that stand that they saw Mr. Mothersbaugh holding this pipe. You won't hear from an expert, that forensic scientist, or that doctor, that they checked this pipe and they found anything connecting to Mr. Mothersbaugh. just don't have proof. That's a problem. We'll call an expert of our own today, a forensic scientist, and he'll tell you there just isn't enough evidence to connect that attack to Mr. Mothersbaugh. That takes us to our second one. There just wasn't a reason for him to be the aggressor. You don't hear about a financial motive today, about a personal vendetta. You won't hear any of that. In fact, we'll call an eyewitness who'll say they saw AJ Maloney being an aggressor that night. That they saw AJ Maloney initiating a fight that night. That's a problem. And it's a problem because they've got the wrong suspect. So at the end of this trial, we're gonna ask you to find the defendant not lying. Thank you. You want this back?
Actually, sorry, before we do that, especially people in the back, I guess anybody that's not actively using Wi-Fi, apparently it messes with our recording system a little bit, so if you guys can turn off your Wi-Fi, that would be really helpful. That's all I have, you guys, just want to make sure that everybody else can watch this too, so. Thanks, guys.
Yes, Your Honor, the plaintiff calls Amy Darwood to the stand. I believe he might be running a little bit late. He's coming from work.
Oh my God, I'm sorry. Oh my God. What do I say?
Mr. Darwish?
Yeah,
It's right there.
oh my God, I'm sorry. This always happens, I swear. I'm literally late to everything. Okay. All right. Let's do this thing. I swear I'm gonna tell the whole truth and.
Mr. Darwish.
All right.
Yes. Good afternoon. Please introduce yourself to the members of the jury.
Good afternoon. I'm sorry I'm late. I just came in from work and I gotta go right back after. My name is Umi Darwish.
What do you do for a living, sir?
I work for the prosecutor's office. No, I'm just kidding. I'm a mascot. I do kids' birthday parties, right? Like they hire me to come and I sing a little song, I do a little dance, I take a little ice cream cake on the side, and when I don't have bodies to do, I usually go stand out in Times Square and take pictures with people.
How'd you get into that line of work?
But believe it or not, I went to school for it. Got my BFA, wanted to be an actor, right? Turns out it's really hard. First role I could get was at the children's theater. They were doing Winnie the Pooh. I was the Pooh. And after that, I don't know, I sort of got typecast. I mean, the industry is just brutal. Everyone kept trying to put me in felt costumes, but I'm trying to break out. I'm doing Pooh, and I'm also doing Tigger. I'm doing Piglet, and if you pay extra, I'll do Moana.
Sir, do you know why you're here in court today?
Yeah, I was working outside the club last year, Hellfire, when the bouncer got in that big fight.
Before we talk about the night of the attack, let's talk more about how. What's Hellfire?
It's a discotheque downtown. Pretty nice place. I like it a lot. You know, I like to go there pretty often because you can only listen to Let It Go on repeat so many times before you gotta let out a little steam, right? So I go and I work outside on the corner there, and you can hear the from inside. It's very soothing.
Do you know any of the employees who work at Hellfire?
Yeah, a couple. I know the DJ, Emberlyn. I know the bartender, Ethan. He's got 6 fingers, pretty kooky, but I can give you his number. They got a few bouncers there, Penelope, Jack, Mateo, and well, AJ used to work there.
Who's AJ?
Well, he was a bouncer. He's kind of the meanest one, right? They're a big guy. Not super popular, but nobody likes the guy that tells you to leave the party, right?
Sir, do you know what happened to Mr. Malone?
Yeah, I do. He got hurt that night. Got into a fight.
What day was it that Mr. Maloney was attacked?
That was July 20th, 2024, in the year of our Lord AD.
Not talk about that day. How did that night start for you?
Well, it was work, you know. I was working the corner that night and working on the corner. And I wasn't wearing this. It was at the dry cleaners with my Elsa. So that night I was dressed as the serpent.
Who's the serpent?
The serpent. He's a vigilante around town, right? Dresses up in a costume and fights crime. The whole thing's a little Mickey Mouse for my taste, but hey, whatever gets tips.
Sir, how is work going that night?
It was all right. This group of kids kept coming up to me and asking me, well, you're dressed in green, are you the witch from Wicked? And I was like, do I look like Elphaba? And then they gather around and they start doing that noise, right? The ah! At that point, I got fed up, so I went to take a smoke break.
Where'd you go to take a smoke break?
I went to the alley around the corner of the club, and I was on the way there and I stubbed my toe on that godforsaken pipe. It's in the middle of the alley.
How'd your smoke break go?
Yeah, it was fine. I had the gloves on from the serpent costume, so I was trying to open my pack of American spirits. And yeah, I'm looking for my lighter, there are my cigarettes, and I'm you know, 1 cigarette, 2 cigarette, 3 cigarette, and well, after that I felt pretty good.
Sir, did you see anyone while you were out there taking that smoke break?
Oh yeah. Yeah, I saw Ali Uchida and Teddy Mothersbaugh, the people I've seen around town.
Were they talking to each other?
They were, yeah. I heard Ali, she was talking to Teddy, right? She pointed at the back door of the club and she said, I'm gonna come out of here, right? I'm gonna lure him out, you be ready. And don't make it so messy. That's what she said to Teddy.
What did they do after that conversation?
Well, Teddy's just nodding along, and then Ali goes into the club, and Teddy walks over to the other side of the alley and he takes a phone call.
What did he say on that call?
I remember he said, get my suit ready. I'm gonna take out the trash. And I thought, oh my God, he's Cookie Monster.
Sir, what happened next?
Well, then this nice black sports car pulls up and he hops inside and I'm so jealous. I was like, I wanna hop in a nice black sports car.
Did they take your shoes, sir?
Who?
The sports car?
No, not like last time. But I was there, I was working on the corner, and then I see another black sports car pull up, and this guy hops out, and I'm like, oh my God, I want to hop out of a nice black sports car.
Well, who exactly did you see step out of that car?
It was the serpent.
Sir, was that car the same one that you saw the defendant get into?
You know, I'm not sure. I didn't see the license plate, but yeah, it looked the same to me. It looked the same as Teddy's car.
You just told us that you saw the serpent get out of the same car that the defendant got.
Objection, Your Honor, to attorney testifying. Have you heard? Your Honor, the witness just stated that he wasn't able to identify those cars as being the exact same. The attorney then went on to say that they were in fact the same car. That's testifying. We'd like her to rephrase.
Response wrong. You just said that the car looked the same. I'm happy to add the words looked the same.
Then I'd like to rephrase your question.
Yes, Your Honor.
So I'm gonna sustain that objection.
Yes, Your Honor.
Yes, Your Honor. Sir, you just told us that you saw the serpent get out of a car that looked just like the one you saw the defendant in.
Right.
How did the rest of the night go for you?
Well, right after the serpent got there, that's when the fight started. I was working on the corner, so I couldn't actually see it, but I heard some commotion from over there, and so, well, once I stopped hearing that, I went over to see what happened.
What did you do?
Well, I walked over to the alley and there was some stab. It was Allie. Allie was there. She was sitting on the ground. Looks kind of banged up, kind of bruised, right? But at least she was awake. Because next to her was AJ. AJ was just mauled. I mean, he was all bloody. And then a few feet away from AJ, I see that pipe. The one I tripped over, but it's also covered in blood.
Thank you, sir. Nothing further, Your Honor. Ross?
Yes, Your Honor.
May I proceed?
Yes.
Good afternoon, sir.
Hi, how you doing?
I'm doing just fine. How are you?
You know, I'm doing all right. I sped all the way here. I got a ticket, but all in the name of justice, right?
Thank you for being. I want to start with something that you told us on direct examination, okay?
Sure,
You told us that you saw Mr. Mothersbaugh, right?
that's right. I saw Teddy.
You saw Teddy leaving the crime scene, right?
Yeah, I saw the serpent. He ran away after the fight.
So I'm not talking about the serpent. You saw Teddy Mothersbaugh's face, right?
Right,
You saw him get into a car.
right. He got into that nice black Chevrolet.
So you saw that car drive away from the nightclub where the fight happened hours later, right?
Yeah, that's right.
You never saw Teddy Mothersbaugh's face again that night, did you?
No, I never saw his face. I just saw his car.
Sir, let's talk about that car identification, because you said you saw another black car drive up, right?
Right.
Sir, you only recognize cars by their color and their shape. Do I have that right?
Right.
You can't tell us make?
It was square.
Sir, you can't tell us model?
It was black.
Sir, you couldn't give us the license plate for sure, right?
I didn't see, no.
Sir, you certainly can't say that that car you saw drive up hours after you saw Miss Mothersbaugh leave the crime scene was the same car.
I can't say for certain, no. It just looked the same to me.
You can't say for certain. Let's talk about why you're testifying today, okay?
Sure.
You call the plaintiff a good friend of yours, right?
AJ? We're not really friends.
Sir, the plaintiff is actually not Asian, right?
Objection, Your Honor, under Rule 403 at this point to confusing the issues, if I may be heard.
Yes.
Your Honor, it's our understanding that Ms. Stoneman is referring to Emerson Rajan, who's the executioner of AJ Maloney's estate. But in this case, he's not actually the plaintiff. So for him to refer to him in her questions as the plaintiff, well, it's confusing the issues.
May I respond, Your Honor?
Yes.
Can I direct your attention to the stipulations? Pursuant to stipulation 8, there are no objections to 403 in this jurisdiction. This isn't misleading. It's not an issue we deal with in this jurisdiction.
In that case, Your Honor, this would just be a point of order that you just referred to the parties by their correct names.
Just look at I'm gonna overrule the objection, counsel.
Yes, Your Honor.
Sir, I'll rephrase the question. You saw, or you consider Emerson Rajan a good friend, right?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, he owns the club. He lets me do my little act on the side of the corner.
You consider him a good friend, right?
Yeah, I'd say so. He lets me work there.
But you wouldn't want to be on his bad side, would you?
Oh, no. No, I wouldn't want to be on anybody's bad side.
Because right now, he lets you do your act outside the club, right?
Exactly. And it's prime real estate, right? The only people better to perform for in a costume than children, drunk people.
So that's, yes, he lets you do your act.
Exactly.
Sometimes he even lets you perform on stage, right?
That's true, but I wear a different costume for that.
Sir, you get all of your income from those performances on that street corner, right?
Oh, exactly. Yeah.
You can't afford to lose that income.
No.
Sir, you can't afford to be on Mr. Rajan's bad side, can you?
Oh, no. Then I'd be a starving artist, and I like to eat.
Mr. Rajan, he called you up himself before this trial, didn't he?
Yeah, that's right.
He personally asked you to testify today, right?
Right.
And now you're here voluntarily. Do I have that right?
Well, yeah. I was there that night. I thought I'd come down and say what I saw.
So we're talking about who you're testifying for. Let's talk about who you're testifying against. Because, sir, you don't just know the person sitting on this side of the courtroom. You actually know the defendant in today's case, don't you?
I do, yes, Teddy.
Because let's break that down a little bit more. Last year you had a second source of income, right?
I did, yes. I was doing karaoke for a while, professionally, believe it or not.
Sir, not just karaoke, you were actually giving tips to an undercover cop. Do I have that right?
Oh, right, yeah. Yeah. They dressed me up as Spot from Paw Patrol. They thought it was more thematically aligned.
That's a yes, you were working with a cop, right?
That's true.
You were getting paid under the table, right?
I was. Sometimes on the table, but usually under.
You didn't exactly have the authority for that job, did you?
What do you mean?
Sir, you'd say you were an unofficial informant, right?
Yeah, sure. I mean, they would ask me questions and I would answer them.
An expose came out that made it clear that you were an unofficial informant, right?
Right, yeah, it was an article and it had everybody's names of people that were talking to the cops. I was like, see, I was on the knock. Ah!
So you were fired from that job.
Right, can't really be a confidential informant. You're not confidential.
So you think the defendant, Miss Mothersbaugh, is the person who got you fired?
Yeah, well, she helped write the article.
Right, you think that she made the expose, right?
Exactly.
After you lost that job, you had to start selling your clothes just to make rent. Do I have that right?
I did, yeah, it was hard to let go of the people too, but we had to cut costs.
You blame the person that you're testifying against for your financial struggles, right?
Well, yeah, I mean, yeah, Teddy wrote the article.
You're testifying against
Right.
her voluntarily.
Yeah, no, they didn't like tell me I had to come or anything.
Thank you. Nothing further, Your Honor.
To name and direct.
Redirect warrant arrest.
Yes.
Hello again, Mr. Darwish.
Hi, Miss Jones.
Sir, you were just asked about your relationships with Emerson Rajan and the defendant in today's case. Is that at all affecting your testimony today?
No, they're not my favorite people, but I'm just here to tell you what I saw.
Sir, would you ever lie because of an article?
No, I mean, I held up my Elmo hand and I swore the oath, so telling the truth.
Thank you. Nothing further.
None, Your Honor.
And I'm not dismissing your. I'm not dismissing your.
All right, I'll come back.
All right, thank you. Ready to call your next, I'm sorry, defendant, are you ready to call your witness?
Yes, Your Honor. The defense calls Mr. Nova Stone. Do you need some help?
Sure, yeah, thank you.
May I? Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Could you please introduce yourself to the members of the jury?
Sure. Hello there. My name is Noah Stone.
Mr. Stone, what do you do for a living?
I don't know. You gotta ask my wife for that.
Your wife?
Yeah, my wife, Mary. She's this 55-year-old corporate bombshell. She works 9 to 5 at her consulting firm, and I do everything she tells me to do. I've been called a house husband for that.
Does your wife let you have hobbies?
Luckily, yes. If all my chores are done on time, I'm allowed to go out for dancing and drinks at the Hellfire Club. There's only one condition.
What's the condition?
She makes sure I wear a shirt that says, "If lost, return to Mary." And it's got her phone number on the back. And before you ask, no, you can't have it.
Sir, are you okay?
Let me be clear. I am more in love than any of you have ever been. My wife is ravishing. My bills, they're paid. And I even have scheduled free time. I mean, what more could a young man want?
Well, sir, as long as it's okay with your wife, I want to ask you some questions about the Hellfire Lounge. Is that okay?
Yeah, she knows I'm here.
Were you at the club the night of July 20th?
I was. Let's see, that day I picked up Miriam's suits from the dry cleaner. She's got a pink pantsuit that would knock you through a loop. And then I was ready for my kiss and go at the door right as soon as she got home.
Do you know what happened at the club that evening?
I do. I'm aware that at the club that night, there was a real bad fight outside. That a bouncer that I met named A.J. Maloney, Well, he got hurt very bad.
Sir, with your help, I want to paint a picture of that night for the members of the jury. What time did you get to the club?
Kelly, she must have been around 8 p.m. Miriam gets home at 7:30. It's a 15-minute commute. I'm never late.
What were you doing there that night?
Well, that night was branded as Shake Your Booty Saturday. And so I was there shaking my cookies with the kids, bouncing it. But, well, there was one man there that night. He was the belle of the ball. I mean, he ran in late. He was in an Elmo costume. I don't mean the typecast. I mean, he looked gorgeous, in fact.
Sir, were you drinking that evening?
Yes, this cookies does not shake by itself.
How many drinks did you have?
Let's see, over the course of about an hour and a half, maybe two, I had 8 drinks. Now, I understand that sounds like a lot, and it is. But me and Miriam, we keep a very traditional household. 1 glass of Manischewitz with dinner, it's good for the heart. And so when I'm out, well, I let my hair loose. Unfortunately, I get a lot of dandruff everywhere, so it's a bummer.
You told us you had 8 drinks that evening. Did it affect your memory of the night of July 20th?
Objection calls for improper expert testimony. Your Honor, they haven't laid any foundation that this witness would be able to make a medical conclusion or a psychological conclusion regarding whether or not his memory was impacted.
Response, Your Honor.
Yes.
This witness testifying about his own memory doesn't require any sort of expert opinion. I'm asking this witness if he believes his own memory was impacted. I don't need a doctor to do it.
A response on those grounds, Your Honor? Your Honor, the specific question was whether or not the alcohol impacted his memory. He doesn't have the expertise required to make the conclusion of if and to what extent the alcohol could have impacted his memory, whether it was impacted by a different factor or impacted at all.
Counsel, I believe you can raise your question and ask whether you want to use instead of asking any substances, anything to impact this.
Of course not.
Yes, Your Honor, motion to strike the offending testimony.
So straight.
Yes, Your Honor.
Sir, your memory from that night, is it still intact?
Look, there's no question. I threw a couple back. I was drunk. But I've been drinking longer than most of you have been alive. It was okay.
Well then, let's focus on who you saw that evening. Do you know someone by the name of Ali Uchida?
Yes, she's one of the few women I'm allowed to talk to. You're in that group, it's okay. See, I know that she's dating Kenny Mothersbaugh, and that she's a reporter. A couple times she's complained to me about having to do the dishes at home. That's not okay. No one should have to suffer.
Did you see her on the night of July 20th?
I did, but unlike me, she wasn't exactly shaking the cookies. No, when I saw her, she was sprinting through the club.
Was someone running after her?
Well, yes. So that bouncer I mentioned earlier, AJ Maloney, I saw him running right behind her. I mean, he was yelling and screaming. And I saw him throw a punch at her. He was a big guy, she was a small girl. My heart dropped when it happened. Luckily, he missed her.
You said you heard some yelling. Did you hear either of them say anything?
Yes. The bouncer Maloney, I heard him yelling something like, I'll make sure you never investigate again.
What happened after you heard Mr. Maloney yelling at Miss Uchida?
They ran towards the exit of the club. I got a little distracted at the bar.
Distracted? How so?
Well, I was sitting there and I got in a conversation with the guy. I told him about my lifestyle. He called me a male wife, and I said, that's not such a bad thing. You should try it. You gotta leave your misogyny at the door sometimes. He did not like that. Some words were thrown, some drinks were thrown, and I was thrown. Out of the club.
Well, I want to talk about if you saw Miss Uchida again that evening, where'd you go after the fight?
Well, I wasn't feeling too hot. But my head was hurting, my rump was tired. I decided I might as well go to the doctor. Doctor wasn't open, and I went to the ER.
Did you see AJ Maloney at the ER?
I did. When I arrived, they were just wheeling him in.
What about Miss Uchida? Was she there?
Her too.
What condition was she in?
When I saw her, it was bad. She seemed to be going in and out of consciousness. She was covered in bruises that I could see. You know, I couldn't help thinking about what I would do if Miriam was like that. Very frightening.
Thank you for your time, Mr. Stone. Your Honor, I have no further questions.
Yes, Your Honor.
Mr. Stone, the reason you went to the Hellfire Club that night was because you wanted to forget. True?
I love Miriam, but yeah, doing the laundry, sometimes I better forget that, sure.
Sure, you went to that club with the explicit purpose of wanting to forget things.
Yeah, but let my hair loose, like I said.
All right, the first thing you wanted to forget. So you go to the bar, you order a whiskey sour.
Right.
Okay, then you decide, okay, there's a second thing I want to forget, second piece of laundry, you order a second whiskey sour.
Right, that one was a pair of stinky socks. They were mine, not hers, I promise.
All right, so then a third whiskey sour.
3.
Okay, after 3 whiskey sours, then you decide, okay, I'm gonna switch it up.
Oh, I switch it up real good.
All right, so 1 shot of tequila,
1 shot.
2nd shot of tequila,
2.
3rd shot of tequila for good measure.
Number 3.
You're not done yet.
No, by the end of the night, I had a total of 8 drinks, so still 2 off.
Okay, so that first one, that's a vodka soda.
Right.
The second one, you go back, you order another vodka soda.
Correct.
At this point, sir, you've drank 8 drinks in the span of 90 minutes.
Something about that, yeah. I've been told what I was doing was called double fisting.
So, sir, after you start double fisting, logically, the next step is you go to the bar, you order a 9th drink.
Right, well, I was going to. That's when I got interrupted. The fight, male wife, and the second.
That's the 9th drink, right?
It was gonna be, yeah.
Well, then after you order those 9 drinks, you step out into the alley. You step out into the alleyway and it's pretty dark.
Sure, it's not very bright, no.
It's not bright, you're pretty drunk.
Yes.
Sure, it's a dark alleyway at night, you're drunk, you're saying that's when you saw Ted and Mother's body in the serpent.
Right.
How long did you see the serpent for?
Not more.
1 second.
Maybe, yeah.
Okay, at this point, dark alley at night, you're drunk, you see the serpent for 1 second. I mean, I gotta ask, are you sure you weren't just seeing double?
I might have been, sure.
Let's talk about what else you might have seen then. Because when you turned around, you looked at that alley, there was 2 people missing, true?
Who?
You didn't see Ali Uchida and AJ Maloney.
No, I didn't see them until I went to the hospital. You're right.
That's right, sir. By the time you're in the alley, Ali Uchida and AJ Maloney, they've been taken to the hospital.
That's right, I was in the alley, but there was no alley. Uchida.
That's right, they've been taken to the hospital.
Right, yes.
And then I want to talk about what you're saying happened after they were taken to the hospital. Sir, you call an Uber.
Right.
You wait for the Uber.
Wait.
You get an Uber.
Get in there.
You drive from the Uber, or rather from the bar to the hospital.
Well, I didn't drive, he drove, but we went.
He drove you from the bar to the hospital.
Yes.
So when you get to the hospital, according to you, ambulance isn't there yet.
No, they wheeled them in pretty soon.
You get to the hospital, you're in the waiting room.
Right.
You speak to a doctor.
Yes.
It's only at that point that the ambulance shows up with Ali Uchida and AJ Maloney.
Right, that's when they wheeled them in, yes.
Sure, did they show up with ice cream?
Huh?
Did they stop for McDonald's on the way?
McDonald's? I didn't see any fries, no.
All right, so then, according to Stone Cold Sober Nova Stone,
I'm not
who
arrested.
somehow has access. Sir, you somehow have access to lightning speed Uber Premium that can get you from the bar to the hospital, wait in the waiting room, talk to a doctor before the ambulance can even bring the comatose man in.
Sure, I got there before that, yes.
No further questions. Can you read your record?
No, Your Honor, may this witness be excused?
Yeah.
Is it okay for me to come get him?
Oh, thank you.
He's got it. And with that, Your Honor, we're at the point in the trial where we'll request a 10-minute recess for witnesses to get into position for the second half of trial. Is that all right?
We can even 15 is what I was told.
15,
Let's do
okay,
15.
perfect.
We did it. 1:30.
Sure, you want to say it?
Oh, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'll show you the box. Yeah, so, this is kind
It's on the floor of the CCG, but it didn't work. Well, what's the matter?
Oh, yeah, I'll say I like.
I've done honestly, I mean, when trial happened. All day, it's 8 hours. How many days back? Oh, I remember this. I was like, I don't know, just something about big, my mom was kind of, I feel like it's very honest. It's boring. I'm made for fun. You know, I'm made for getting in, like writing every day. At the same time, you know, that's just something. Yeah, same here.
There. For the morning, and then we would follow up, you know.
Oh, the
Well, I like.
I do state planning, but it's started my career in government.
Oh.
A lot, I do regulatory litigation, defense first injury and.
It's cold. Not boring. Maybe I'll get that fluids for next one. Maybe, but right now it's, I still got that light, I got that light. Give me something.
Any other way about, you know. With more time, let's. Ready to jump off the building.
Yeah, I gotta reach it.
I'm Judy. You know, it's fun, I think that. I think people have loved to be in one place and you know, getting fun time was more. There's such things as vacation. A good thing to do.
Yep.
Oh, that's.
Yeah. Yeah.
Especially if you're. Very important. You gotta change. You know.
Run back. Should there be a calling it right there? Okay.
It's just in the rest of these, you have this, that's issue that. It appears the entirety of the defense is back and we're ready to proceed.
When is back ready?
All right, we're back with the record. Plaintiff, what is that on this?
Yes, Your Honor. The plaintiff calls Talbot Meyer, Sam. Meyer, apologize. Merci. Can you please introduce yourself to the members of the jury?
Of course. Good afternoon. My name is Talbot Meyer.
What do you do for a living?
I'm an emergency medical physician. Right now I serve as the lead physician at Devnock Memorial Hospital.
Why did you become a doctor?
My mom. When I was in high school, she got sick. Ended up spending a lot of time in hospital rooms. Watching the way those doctors and nurses cared for her to make her feel better, made me feel better. Guess I wanted to pay it back.
What sort of education did you receive?
A lot. Took most of my 20s. I got my bachelor's in science and biological sciences. Then I received my MD from Johns Hopkins School of Medicine. After that, I did a series of residencies in a variety of specialties.
What's your area of specialty?
My specialty is blunt force trauma. That's when the body's impacted, but the skin doesn't quite break. Now, that could look like anything from internal bleeding, or a concussion, or a particularly bad stub toe.
Doctor, how are you involved in today's case?
I was the treating physician for AJ Bullie after he was attacked. I was asked by the plaintiff to prepare a report analyzing his injuries to try to determine how they might have happened.
All right, I want to walk through Mr. Maloney's injuries. How did you determine what injuries Mr. Maloney had to begin with?
Well, we start with a full examination upon intake. That's the first step.
What injuries did he have?
I won't sugarcoat it. He was in bad shape. Mr. Maloney presented with 6 different broken bones. 2 in his ribs, 2 in his arm, 1 in his foot, as well as his collarbone. He had chronic inflammation. His vitals were erratic. He was spasmic. He had bruising across his body as well as internal and external bleeding.
How did you treat those injuries?
Well, the first step is to stabilize the patient. So we got his vitals stable. We set the bones. We stopped the bleeding. After that, it's really up to the patient. I'll say that he fought well, but unfortunately, he fell into a coma.
Doctor, do you know why his injuries were so severe?
Well, that was a part of my analysis. Based on the coloration and the swelling of those bruises, it led me to believe that a weapon was used against him.
Did you review any weapons that could have been used against Mr. Maloney?
I did. I reviewed the weapon that was retrieved from the scene of the attack It was a large metal pipe, a blunt object.
And was that pipe consistent with the injuries that Mr. Maloney sustained?
It was.
I want to talk more then about how that weapon was used. What's the next thing that you do in your analysis?
Well, the next step is to determine whether those injuries were received offensively or defensively. Simply, whether Mr. Maloney was attacking or being attacked.
And how you go about figuring that out?
You know, I can explain it, but it might be easier to understand if I just show you.
Your Honor, permission for Dr. Meyer to step into the well? Come on down. All right, sir. What's the demonstration?
We're gonna do something a little unusual today. Mr. Lynch, you're gonna attack it. We're gonna walk through an altercation to see how injuries can tell us what happened during a fight.
So how are injuries created during a fight?
Well, we have to think back to the third law of motion. For every action, there's an
equal and opposite reaction, is that
perfect.
Okay, so how does the third law of motion help us understand injury?
Like this. Mr. Lynch, would you very likely punch me in my shoulder right there? Freeze. Right now, Mr. Lynch's fist is imparting force onto my shoulder. So, if I were to come into the ER, you might see a pretty nasty bruise there on my shoulder. But the thing is, my shoulder is also imparting force back onto Mr. Lynch. So if he were to come into the ER, I might look for bruising along the knuckles, tears or lacerations of the skin, as well as injuries to the wrist and the joints.
Well, sir, did you find any bruising on AJ Maloney's knuckles?
There was no attack bruising on AJ Maloney's knuckles.
But what about his finger? Any injuries there?
No injuries on his fingers.
His wrists?
His wrists were fine.
So, sir, where were Mr. Maloney's injuries?
A lot of Mr. Maloney's injuries were actually confined to his posterior. That's just the backside of his body.
Sir, you mentioned earlier that you reviewed a pipe. If I brought you that pipe, would you be able to use it to demonstrate to the jury exactly where those injuries were?
I certainly would.
Your Honor, at this time I'm approaching this unit with Exhibit 7. It's pre-admitted in today's case. Sir, does this look like the weapon that you reviewed when reviewing AJ Maloney's?
Yes, it does.
All right, so where were his injuries?
Well, if you wouldn't mind turning around for me. Sure. A lot of his injuries were on his posterior. So I reviewed them on his back, his shoulders, as well as near his neck.
Sir, based on those injuries, how are you able to determine the attacker's identification, if at all?
Well, you can look at the location of a bruise to try to build a profile of who did it. I can show you another demonstration. If I could have Ms. Kidwai, would you mind coming down?
Sure thing.
All right, Mr. Lynch, it's time for me to get you back. So I'm gonna strike Mr. Lynch at my height, and you can see we're about the same height. We strike evenly across, and I'll strike him right here. Would you hold this there? Sure. All right, Ms. Kidwai, it's your turn.
Sure thing.
Freeze. So you can see there's a significant difference between the placements in our heights. Just like there's a significant difference between me and Ms. Kidwai's heights.
So what did Mr. Maloney's injuries locations tell you about the attacker in today's case?
Based on the location of Mr. Maloney's injuries, I was able to conclude that his attacker was either the same height as him or at most 4 inches tall.
Thank you. You can take your seat. Doctor, are you aware of the defendant's physical attributes?
Yes, sir, I am.
How do those physical attributes, how do they align with the attacker in this?
Well, Teddy Mothersbaugh is about the same height as Mr. Maloney. That is entirely consistent with the injuries that I observed.
So taking a step back, what's your final conclusion about the cause of Mr. Maloney's injury?
Based on my continued treatment of Mr. Maloney, as well as my review of his injuries and the weapon retrieved from the scene of the attack, I was able to conclude two things. First, it is entirely consistent that Teddy Mothersbaugh was the attacker. Second, I was able to conclude that Mr. Maloney was not attacking that night. He was attacked.
Thank you, doctor. Nothing further at this time, Your Honor.
Ross? Yes, John.
Dr. Meyer, I want to pick up right where you left off, talking to Mr. Lynch about Teddy Mothersbaugh.
Certainly.
Because in your report, you said that Teddy Mothersbaugh might have been the one to attack AJ alone.
That's right. The injuries present are entirely consistent with his physical profile.
I want to talk about that physical profile a little bit more in depth, John, because as you just told Mr. Lynch, Mr. Mothersbaugh's the same height as the attacker.
That's correct.
So you know Mr. Mothersbaugh, he's not the only person in that city who stands at that height.
Certainly not.
In your report, you said Mr. Mothersbaugh, well, he's the same gender as the attacker.
That's correct.
Sir, he's not the only man in the city.
Right again.
You said he's got a similar build to the attacker.
Yes.
There are plenty of other people with a similar build.
I'm sure there are. I can see many of them in this room right now.
Doctor, you wrote about his height, his build, his gender. The truth is, none of those characteristics can tell us for sure
You're
if
right.
Teddy Mothersbaugh was the attacker.
You're right. Isolated variables like that, they can't close the case on their own. You have to look at the totality of the circumstances to reach a conclusion.
But doctor, you agree, Teddy Mothersbaugh, he's just one among countless people who might have attacked AJ.
That's true. Teddy Mothersbaugh is one of the people who would be consistent with those injuries.
It would be consistent, but sir, you didn't see the attack.
I didn't, no.
You've never seen any footage of that attack.
No, ma'am.
You didn't review the crime scene.
No, ma'am, I was the emergency medical physician.
Dr. Meyer, you just can't tell us if it was Teddy Mothersbaugh.
I can't tell you for certain who the attacker was. I can just tell you his physical profile matched the injuries that I saw.
Well, if that's the case, I want to talk about why you might be telling the members of the jury today that it could have been Teddy Mothersbaugh, because Dr. Meyer, you were hired by Emerson Rajan.
That's true. I was retained to create a report for this case.
And Mr. Rajan, he's been making substantial donations to your hospital.
Mention a lack of foundation at this time. Lack of foundation for how this witness would know that Mr. Rajan makes donations to his hospital.
Would you care to respond? Yes, Your Honor. Dr. Meyer works at the hospital, and may I proffer?
Yes.
Through further questions, I'll establish that he has a relationship with Mr. Rajan. He's personally spoken to him. He was hired for this case with Mr. Rajan. He certainly would know whether or not Mr. Rajan is making donations to his hospital.
Response.
Yes.
He works as a doctor at that hospital. He's not in administration. He's not in fundraising. For him to know this, there would have to be sufficient foundation to show that he does know this. They're asking him to testify to money transfers, which is not something that the foundation can take.
May I respond, Your Honor?
No, overruled.
Doctor, you know that Mr. Rajan has made substantial donations to your hospital.
That's true. I mean, his name is right there on the front of the door, the Rajan emergency room.
You think without it, your hospital, it would have shut down?
That's very possible. I mean, he was a substantial donor to the hospital.
It's not just possible, doctor, you think the hospital would have shut down, right?
Without his support, it likely would have.
You think you would have lost your job?
Well, I mean, if the hospital closes down, I can't work at the hospital, so yes.
And Mr. Rajan, he's paying you to testify in it.
Not to testify, I was paid to prepare my report.
That's right, doctor, he paid you $15,000 to prepare that report.
That's correct.
Doctor, let's be clear. How many hours of work did you do for this case?
I prepared 15 hours on the report. I've spent 60 hours treating Teddy Mothersbaugh over the last year.
15 hours for that report, $15,000. That's $1,000 per hour, doctor?
That's correct, ma'am. That's the going rate of a lead emergency physician.
Then I want to talk about if that $15,000 was worth it, because doctor, you can't even come to a definite conclusion about who the aggressor was on July 20th.
Again, Like I said, I'm an EMT, not a CSI. I can tell you the injuries match physical attributes. I'm not gonna point anyone out of a lineup.
Well, doctor, you know identifying defense wounds is not an exact science.
That's true, requires some interpretation.
Wounds on a victim can look the same as wounds on an aggressor.
That's possible.
And like you mentioned earlier, you didn't see the altercation.
No,
You can't tell us if AJ Maloney sustained his wounds while he was already attacking Ali Uchida.
I'm not sure what the sequence of events was. What I can tell you is that those injuries led me to believe he was attacked, not attacking.
All right, doctor, you're telling the members of the jury it's unlikely that he was the one attacking first. I want to walk through a scenario of what might have happened. All right?
Sure,
All right, let's imagine that Ali Uchida, she's already lying on the ground, okay?
all right,
AJ Maloney, he's standing over her.
right,
He has his fist raised to strike.
okay.
Sir, if he was intercepted before he struck, he wouldn't have bruises on his knuckles.
If there was no impact to his knuckles, there wouldn't be any inflammation. That's correct.
So then those wounds from the aggressor you were talking about earlier with Mr. Lynch, they'd be missing.
In this case, yes,
But you'd agree that in this scenario, with Ms. Uchida on the ground with his fist raised, she's still in danger.
I mean, it depends on what happens next. You tell me.
Doctor, if Mr. Maloney had swung, Uchida could have been seriously injured.
In the hypothetical,
That's right, doctor.
sure, if he punched her, she would have been injured.
So in this hypothetical, you agree, sir, that it's possible that AJ Maloney was the initial attacker, right?
Again, it's possible. I can't tell you what the sequence of events was. What I can tell you is that based on my review, he was primarily being attacked, not attacking.
Doctor, you agree that in this scenario, he might have been the initial attacker, right?
I can't tell you for certain.
All right, doctor, then I want to clarify for the members of the jury exactly how you feel about vigilantes, because today we've been talking about the serpent.
Serpent?
That's, doctor, the vigilante in Tower City, the serpent. You've heard of him?
The masked assailant, yes, yes.
You've certainly heard of him before.
I think I have, yeah.
Doctor, you think you have treated many of his victims?
No,
Doctor, is it your testimony today that you haven't treated people who were injured by vigilantes?
other vigilantes. At my previous job, I don't recall any patients that were attacked by the serpent other than AJ Maloney.
All right, doctor, you've treated people who were attacked by vigilantes, and you treated AJ Maloney, who was attacked by the serpent, right?
That's correct.
Doctor, you hate vigilantes.
That's true. In my work, senseless violence is completely at odds with everything I stand for.
You think they're monsters.
I would have seen some terrible injuries inflicted by vigilantes. I would agree with them.
And now you're here testifying today against Teddy Mothersbaugh,
That's true.
who you think might be a vigilante.
I've heard claims of that, yes.
Thank you, doctor. Your Honor, I have no further questions. Read your act.
Yes, Your Honor. I just want to clear something up. Is your feeling towards vigilantes at all impacting your testimony?
Absolutely not.
And did you find any evidence of offensive wounds on AJ Maloney when you did your medical review?
I found one offensive wound. The rest of them were constrained to the posterior side. He was attacked from behind. Those are not offensive wounds.
How does the severity of Mr. Maloney's injuries compare to those of Ms. Uchida?
Frankly, Mr. Lynch, they're not here. Ms. Uchida had some scratches and bruising. Mr. Maloney almost died. He remains in a coma to this day. In fact, I just did my rounds with him this morning.
Thank you, Doctor. Nothing further, Your Honor.
All right. Yes, Your Honor. The defense calls Gordon Wilt to the stand.
Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon.
Would you please introduce yourself to the members of the jury?
Sure. My name is Gordon Gwill. Most people just call me Gordy.
Mr. Gwilt, what do you do for a living?
I'm a forensic analyst.
For those of us who don't know what that is, can you explain?
Sure. Essentially, that means my job is to go to crime scenes and collect what's left behind. We use that to put back together what happened at the crimes. To do so, we collect all kinds of things. That's blood, hair, saliva, fingerprints, what we'll call other genetic fluids. Through that, we're able to put together a pretty good picture.
What kind of experience do you have?
Well, I got my degrees in chemistry and biology at Tufts. Then I went to go get my bachelor's in forensic science at Florida. Following that, I spent 10 years at the police department working CSI, and now finally, I'm a consultant.
And sir, before we talk about your work today, I want to be upfront with the members of the jury. Would you tell us how you got hired for this case?
Of course. The defendant today, Teddy Mothersbaugh, she's an old friend from high school baseball. She approached me and asked me to take the case.
Did the fact that she's an old friend have any impact on your findings today?
No. Well, I did give her a discount for my services. All of my conclusions are completely independent and unaffected.
So do you know why she hired you?
I do. On July 20th, 2024, outside a venue called the Hellfire Club, a bouncer named A.J. Maloney got into a fight with a vigilante called the Serpent. Mr. Maloney is now in a coma. See, I was asked to go to the scene and do a forensic analysis from what we could find.
Well, what kind of evidence were you looking for?
Well, specifically, we were trying to answer two questions. First, who was the aggressor in that fight? And second, is the Serpent Teddy Mothersbaugh?
Mr. Will, I want to start with that first question. In a case like this one, how do you determine who the aggressor is?
We do it through a process called blood spatter analysis. There's a method we use in the field. First, we look at spatter pattern, then localization, and finally trajectory. People call the method splat.
Is this method reliable?
It is. It's used across the field. It's the gold standard.
Then let's start with the spatter pattern. What is that?
Spatter pattern, in layman's terms, breaks down to where blood is and where it isn't. It can help give us clues into where combatants were during a fight. If I can actually step down, I can demonstrate for you what we saw when we got to the scene.
Your Honor, can Mr. Wilt join me in the well? Yes, he may.
Thank you. So what we're going to do right now is a little bit of crime scene reenactment. And to do so, I'm going to take my jacket and I'm going to put it on the floor right about here. Can you guys see it okay if it's right here? Excellent.
All right, so why is your jacket on the floor?
I want you to imagine that we're at the crime scene, and all over are specks of A.J. Maloney's blood. Except for right here. We found an area on the floor where blood was completely absent, and when we measured the proportions, it fit that of a human body.
Did you find out whose body it was?
We did. We found that the proportions fit someone named Ali Uchida, who was injured that night at the fight.
Okay, so there's a human-shaped gap right here. What does that tell us?
Well, it tells us that by the time blood started to get shed, but by the time the attack with the serpent happened, that Mr. Cheetah was already on the floor.
All right, thank you, sir. You can go ahead and read your receipt.
Of course.
Let's move on to that next step, localization. What is that?
Localization refers to where blood is on the body and where it travels. See, that can help us find out the kinds of positions that someone is in during a fight.
What did you discover in this case?
Well, in this case specifically, we looked at A.J. Maloney's forearms. What we discovered was that blood was flowing from his wrists down to his elbows.
Why does that matter?
You gotta go back to basic physics.
Universal law of gravity, everything responds to gravity, including blood. Because we know blood was flowing from the wrist to the elbow, it makes it much more likely that when blood started to get shed, his arms were up like this in an active position.
Is there an alternative to that active position?
Of course, consider the opposite. See, if we saw blood flowing instead of from the wrist to the elbow, from the elbow to the wrist, he would much more likely have been standing like this at the beginning of the fight, in a prone kind of stance.
So what does that tell us?
Well, it makes it much less likely that it was a surprise attack because his hands were up.
All right, Mr. Gold, then let's move on to trajectory. Can you explain that to the members of the jury?
Of course. Trajectory refers to the angle at which blood falls onto the floor. It can help us figure out whether or not somebody is moving when a fight starts.
What do you mean?
Imagine you have a nosebleed and you're standing, still. See, when the blood starts falling out of your nose, it does so straight down, like this. So the blood drips and it ends up being relatively a circle shape.
How would it fall if you were moving?
Imagine if you're moving and the blood is hitting the ground at an angle like this. Instead of being circles, it gets stretched out. It almost looks like a comet with a round end on one side and a tail on the other.
So what did you find in this case?
We found that AJ Maloney's blood on the floor, it came out while he was moving.
All right, so then let's put all that together for the members of the jury. Do we know if AJ Maloney was the aggressor?
Look, blood spatter analysis isn't foolproof, but we have good evidence showing that AJ Maloney was either the aggressor or at least a participant in the fight. We know that because it's likely that Mr. Uchida was already on the floor, that his hands were up rather than in a prone position, that it wasn't a surprise attack.
All right, then I want to talk about that second question you set out to answer. Earlier you mentioned that you investigated Mr. Mothersbaugh as the serpent. Can you tell us about that?
Yes. We ran a DNA analysis to see if we can find anything at the crime scene to compare the serpent's DNA to Mr. Mothersbaugh's. But unfortunately, we came up short.
Why?
Well, in some cases, there just wasn't enough DNA to find. For example, we didn't find any blood from the serpent to compare. In other cases, there were far too many samples. On a crowded sidewalk, hundreds or thousands of people can walk by. So saliva, skin cells, it was just far too many to consider.
Were there any usable DNA samples?
There were a few. And that's where human error came into play. Over the course of the investigation, both my own firm and the police office, we mishandled and lost a lot of the genetic evidence.
All right, then, Mr. Brill, can you tell us what your ultimate conclusion was in today's case?
Unfortunately, we just didn't have enough information to figure out whether or not Teddy Mothersbaugh was the serpent. However, even if he was, the more likely series of events is that AJ Maloney was the aggressor or at least a willing participant in the fight.
Thank you for your time, Mr. Will. Your Honor, I have no further questions. Okay.
Yes, Your Honor. May I proceed?
Yes.
Sure, I want to clarify your relationship to the defendant.
Sure, let's do it.
Because you'd agree with me, you and the defendant, you're actually good friends, true?
Right, from the baseball days.
Like you said, you go way back.
Way back to high school.
You're here today because your good friend, the defendant, asked you to testify.
Right, well, she hired me, but yes.
You're here today because your good friend, the defendant, is paying you $13,000 to be here to testify on her behalf.
That's true.
So I want to talk about if the defendant's paying you to destroy evidence in today's case.
She's not.
Well, you'd agree with me, sir. You destroyed evidence in today's case.
By accident, some evidence got lost. Of course, we didn't purposely destroy evidence, no.
Well, let's walk through that. Because it's July 20th and you show up to the scene, true?
Right. I was one of the first ones there with the police officers.
And you swab everything, you collect the DNA.
Yes.
You'd agree with me, you collected a lot of DNA at the scene.
Yes, we certainly tried to.
You collected DNA that you believe would reveal the identity of the attacker that night.
Yes, we did.
But you didn't test that DNA right away, did you?
No, we put it in our files. We're gonna do an investigation on it later. And over the course of time, our firm somehow lost it.
Well, hold on. So that's right, you store the DNA, true?
Yes,
And then as that DNA that you believe can identify the attacker is being stored at your firm, you get a call.
from who?
From the defendant, isn't that right?
Right, she called the hired.
The defendant calls you and says, I'll pay you $13,000 to testify for me in today's case. True?
Well, she asked me to testify. I gave her a discount. That's where the 13 grand comes from. But she did call me.
You gave her a friends and family discount.
Yes.
So she calls you and says, I'll pay you $13,000 if you participate in this case on my behalf. True?
Right, yes.
And sir, after the defendant pays you $13,000, that's when that DNA is lost.
Right, well, shortly after, that's when the DNA was lost. It's true.
After the defendant pays you $13,000, that's when that DNA that you believe could identify the attacker suddenly disappears.
I'm sure it didn't just disappear. We just couldn't find it.
You're sure it didn't just disappear? That's because you have to admit, sir, that you are responsible for that DNA not being here today.
Right, it was our firm. We take total responsibility.
Oh, hold on, you said it's our firm, on direct you said we. The truth is, sir, you take sole responsibility for losing that DNA.
Absolutely. I mean, I'm the head of my firm. The buck stops with me.
It is your fault that we lost the DNA in this case that could identify the attacker.
Yes, I agree.
But when you told the defendant that, they didn't say, oh, I'm taking back my $13,000, did they?
No, there was much more to the investigation as well.
No, after you lost that DNA, they said, well, come testify now. True?
Sure, it was part of the expert report I put together. That and the blood spatter.
So I just want to make it clear, the defendant pays you $13,000, you lose the evidence, and then you come to court today and say, we don't know who it was because we don't have the evidence.
Right.
The evidence you lost.
We don't have it.
Well, then I want to talk about if the rest of your investigation was thorough. Because you talked about blood spatter, right?
Exactly.
Sir, you don't have any photos of the crime scene showing that spatter, do you?
Not personally. I bet the police department does.
You don't have any tests showing your results?
No. I mean, it wasn't like a test tube result. You could see the missing blood.
So this jury, they just have to take your word for it, right?
Sure, I'm sure if you approach the police department, they'd have it. I don't have it for you today.
But sir, you agree with me, there's actually a way that we can be sure of what happened that night, true?
Well, of course, if there was video evidence, but unfortunately, we don't have it.
You say in video evidence, there's another way, isn't there?
How do you mean?
Oh, well, you can talk to the people that were present at the scene.
Sure.
You're aware, you talked about them on your direct of a person named Ali Uchida who was present at the scene.
It's true.
You didn't talk to Mr. Uchida.
No.
You never conducted an interview.
No. My purview is in that kind of forensic testing. We don't do interviews.
For $13,000, you destroyed evidence and didn't conduct a single interview.
Sir, I'm sorry. I don't mean to push back on you so hard about this. We did not destroy evidence.
Apologies, sir. For $13,000, you lost crucial evidence and didn't conduct a single interview.
Sir, I don't appreciate the air quotes. We did not destroy evidence.
But did you lose it?
Yes.
So you lost evidence and then you didn't conduct a single interview, true?
No interviews, that's correct.
And because of that, you can't be sure exactly what happened that night.
That's true. That's why this kind of work with the blood spatter analysis is so important. It's what gives us the clues to piece it together.
Sir, I want to make it very clear because your conclusion is that we don't know who the serpent is, true?
Two conclusions. I don't know who the serpent is, and that AJ Maloney was likely the aggressor.
Well, let's start actually with the aggressor because he said evidence for that was that his blood showed his hands were up, right?
Right.
Sir, you'd agree with me, that would be consistent with him having his hands up to defend himself, true?
It could have been, but this was before the fight started when the blood first showed up.
Sir, yes or no, you agree with me the evidence you found suggests that his hands could have been up in defense, true?
It could have been, yes.
But again, we don't know what happened because you didn't conduct an interview.
I did not conduct an interview.
So when you're saying that we can't be sure what happened, it's because of the steps you didn't take that we can't know.
Sure. I don't know what would have come out in an interview, but the fact that his hands were up, it could be offensive or defensive.
That's a yes, sir. The reason we can't know who the serpent was or what happened is because of steps that you didn't take.
It's true.
Thank you. Nothing further at this time, Your Honor.
Any redirect?
Can I get a time check?
23 seconds.
No redirect, Your Honor, and Mr. Wilk step down.
Yes.
Thank you.